So, in this video, I want to talk about the power of love. I want to talk about how love has such a big influence on our lives and ultimately how it determines our future. Because I don't think many people really understand how big of a part love plays in our future, how it can shape your career or how it can shape you as a person. And I think that coming to an understanding about it will make your future life a lot more smoother, and it will be a lot easier for you to achieve whatever you want to achieve in your career. So one of the first factors I want to talk about love is how it affects your decision making. So most of our decision making is done in the prefrontal cortex part of our brain, and that brain is responsible for all decision making, all coming up with solutions, and it pretty much does all the thinking. And what love does is it overtakes that part of your brain. It sort of takes on control. It can manipulate it in a way where you're making decisions that you think will benefit you at the minute, but long term wise, it will bite back at you. So either way, it can be very manipulative, because throughout the years, love is the type of feeling you only experience during certain moments. So just throughout the years, of you growing up, you don't have love within your decision making for a while. But then once you get it in there, it's like your mind doesn't really know how to act. It doesn't know how to control it or how to maintain it. So whenever you're just doing basic, decision making, you're just thinking of your career, the things you want to do for your life, where your spendings want to go. But then when love enters that picture, the whole thing just changes. All of a sudden you're willing to spend more money, you're being more flexible. All of a sudden you said, oh, I want to get this dream career in 5 years, but now that you're in love, you might be like, oh, 10 years, I'll get it 10 years instead. And it happens so subtly, like you don't really notice how it really changes the trajectory of your career. And that's what it's like when it enters your picture, because you'll have a career set out, you have goals set out, but when love gets in there, it sort of changes it. You become more flexible, you start to appreciate love more than you appreciate your careers. And I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but I want people to understand that it's something you need to understand. Because if you're someone who's career focused and you want to better for yourself and your family, then you've got to understand that love is manipulative. Love can make you do crazy things. Like, I remember there was a time where I was a bit younger and I was in love with this girl, and I'm very career focused. So I was sort of like, is this the right thing for me to do? I was sort of like how every other guy is, when you have that thought of trying to be the best version of yourself before you commit to a relationship. I was sort of like that at that time, but I was thinking, this opportunity only comes once, it's not every now and then that I get an opportunity like this. So despite being career focused, despite being in a position where I felt like I weren't ready, I still took on that relationship, and how I imagined my goals has changed a lot. Mainly because you would try to put that person within the picture of your goals. So you might have a set idea of how you expect to achieve something, and you might have a reason for why you want to achieve something. But what I realized was that my reasoning for wanting to achieve that dream career of mine changed ever since I got into love. And when you tell people about it as well, it almost seems as if they're a part of it. It seems as if you've got to achieve that career for them than for you, because you want them to appreciate you, you want them to see your true potential. And that's how I felt. At the time I was like, this is very motivating, because it weren't like she was taking all my money or taking all my time. She was taking some of my time, if I'm being real. But ultimately, when there were times where I didn't feel like doing anything, she would always motivate me to do more. And it worked at times, but slowly, day by day, the reason as to why you want to achieve something grows more and more into doing it for them than for you. And so we lasted about 11 months, just nearly a year, until it broke off. And then when it came to just focusing and doing work on my career, part of me was motivated because that's what every guy is sort of like. We always want to better ourselves after a relationship, we want to get to our peak. But part of me was very motivated to keep working. But at the same time, part of me was like, what's the point, Because I did it for myself at first, but I also did it for her, because when you put someone else in that picture and you say, oh, when I get this career, I'm going to get this for you, I'm going to get that for you, and then they're gone, it's like, I can't get this for them, I can't get that for you, because you're not in the picture anymore. So it's sort of like, you're just working for yourself, and then from then you become your own motivation. So love's effect on decision making is pretty big, because ultimately I did learn quite a bit. So from that, I think one of the most important things you need to do is to try to keep love separate from your career, because it can easily hijack it and it can easily change it, and I think it should go for both ways, having someone who's career focused and you're career focused. That makes it a lot easier for both of you to get what you want without thinking, I've got to do this for them, instead saying that you want to do it for yourself. And that's something I wish I really focused on, because the only times I would ever really do work at that time was when she asked me if I was doing any, or she would ask me why I'm not doing any work. And so it's like she was my motivation at that time, but obviously now she isn't, so it's just me. But it's something you learn about love, So another reason why I think love is so powerful is because it changes your perspective on life. It changes the way you view people, the way you view things, and ultimately the way you do things. Because one thing I realized was that when I was in love, life felt like so much more beautiful. I would get up every day, have a full breakfast, I would just feel excited getting ready. And it wasn't just because it was all for her, or I was excited to see her. It was just that I was just simply in love. I was in a happy position, and that's what love is like. It's the feeling it brings you, and it's not just the thought of the person, it's the feeling that they project onto you. And so life just felt so much more beautiful, going out, seeing the sun. It's just all those little things. Everything just feels like it would just go into place. My career would fit into place. My working out goals and my diet would fit into place. It all felt so perfect. And the difference between that and not being in love is just that when you feel as if you're not felt like you're appreciated, your perspective on the world is a lot more bleak. It's a lot more like darker. And the final reason why I think that love is so powerful is because it removes any sort of feeling of isolation or loneliness. And I think when you experience those type of things to a low level, so like when you're in love, it becomes a lot easier to advance as a person, to grow as a person. Because at times when you feel like your anxiety, if you have it, is at its peak, or you feel lonely, or you feel isolated, it becomes a lot harder to grow as a person, because as humans we need to feel appreciated, we need to feel seen. And when we don't, we start to wonder, what's the point in doing this, what's the point in doing that, when there's no one to do it for other than yourself. And obviously it's good to do things for yourself. It's good to build on your self-worth and to feel internally that you're proud of yourself. But in the end, you're going to want to share the piece of the cake with someone else. You're going to want to show your successes to other people. And so I think being in love in general is what makes it so much easier for you to continue to grow and to not feel any sort of isolation. Love creates a meaningful life because it provides a lot of reasoning. Love, it makes you want to do things. It makes you just appreciate life, and it makes it easier for you to figure out what type of career you want to get into. And I'm not saying you can't do that on your own, you definitely can. But as humans, we don't understand ourselves to the best of our abilities. You know, there's people out there who, or just a person in general, will be able to understand the type of person you are and what your capabilities are based on how they know you. So you may think you're bad at things, or you may think that doing a specific thing wouldn't be a good career for you, but when someone else sees you do that specific thing, they will realize how talented you are. You know, it's easier for other people to see the potential in you than you to see it in yourselves. And the reason why it's like that is because our mind sort of comes to conclusions really quickly. So when you try things you think you're bad at, or when you do things you think you're bad at, it sort of just stops there. Your mind ain't like, what if I just get better? What if I'm not as bad as I actually think I am? It's like being a fucking football scout. You know, you can see the potential in players. You can see where they can be in the next 5 to 10 years, but they won't be able to see that themselves. And so love can honestly just make you realize that you are talented. It can make you realize that there are levels in life you can reach that you never thought you could. And in a way, the only way you would really realize that is if you're in love with someone who really does love you, who understands you and wants you to do well in your life. And so once again, I don't want to make it sound like you won't figure out where you'll be in life, you won't be able to see your own potential. I don't want to make it sound like that, but it's what love does, and you can experience those things without being in love. But at the same time, a third person understanding, it doesn't have to be your girlfriend, it can be your mum, your dad, your sister. A third person understanding on your potential is what creates a realization in your mind that you can do better, or that you should focus on that thing. And that's why I think it's always very important to get opinions and to get other people's thoughts. You know, growing up or online, you see a lot of people saying, oh, fuck what they think, don't listen to their advice. But really, whether it's negative advice or positive advice, it's all dependent on how you perceive it, you know, how you take in that advice and how you decide to act upon it, you know, because someone downplaying you could be you realizing your own weakness, and someone positively praising you could make you realize your potential. And if we go back to the weakness part, when you realize your weakness, you'll be able to obviously build upon it, you'll be able to improve. And so whether it's criticism or whether it's someone spreading positivity, either way you will still be able to realize your potential and what you can achieve in life. It all just depends on how you take it in, what you do with it, and how you choose to just implement it. So thank you all for watching. This was my first ever video. Obviously my voice is a little bit shaky and sometimes it might just sound a little bit crazy. But I'm going to keep on trying to make some more videos because I really like it. So take care.